It was a Friday night, and Alex was heading home after a long week, replaying recent texts and moments with Natalie in his head. Things had seemed promising between them. They'd shared laughs, late-night conversations, even a few flirtatious moments. But then, without warning, her responses grew shorter, her messages slower. He'd reach out, and sometimes she wouldn't even reply. When they ran into each other, her usual warmth was replaced with an uncharacteristic chill. Alex felt the sting of rejection, but knew deep down that chasing her or asking what went wrong would only make things worse. So, instead of scrambling to win her back, Alex decided to try something different. He would ignore her right back. As difficult as it felt, he held back on sending more messages, even when she left his unread. If she steered the conversation off course or changed the subject, he didn't press on. He stayed calm and didn't push for her attention. It was a subtle shift, but enough to catch her off guard. Alex knew she likely expected him to act like any other guy, begging for her attention. By pulling back, he showed her something unexpected. He wouldn't let anyone treat him like an afterthought. The days passed, and Alex still felt that nagging urge to reach out, to ask why things had changed. But each time, he reminded himself of his worth and focused on other parts of his life. He filled his days with things he'd been putting off: going to the gym, finishing that book he'd left on his nightstand, even signing up for a photography class he'd been curious about. As he redirected his energy, he found himself growing less and less attached to what she thought of him. His confidence began to shift back where it belonged, on himself. And strangely enough, he began to feel lighter. Meanwhile, Natalie started noticing. She'd glance his way at social gatherings, maybe expecting the usual small talk or an attempt to reignite their conversation. But Alex would keep things short and casual, respecting himself enough not to overcompensate for her sudden coldness. He made it clear, without saying a word, that he wouldn't tolerate the silent treatment or let someone string him along. And as he walked away from her each time, he felt his own worth growing stronger. At a party one evening, Natalie made a little dig about one of Alex's hobbies, a subtle test to see if he'd get flustered. Instead, he played along with a grin, teasing her right back. His easygoing confidence, his ability to laugh off her jab, made her see him in a new light. By now, Alex wasn't trying to impress anyone, he'd simply become more assured of himself, and it showed. Then came a moment of clarity. Alex realized he didn't need to prove himself to someone who couldn't see his value from the start. He stopped worrying about her opinion altogether. And as he grew into the best version of himself, he noticed she seemed intrigued, sending little signals here and there. But by then, Alex had moved on to bigger and better things.